A long time ago, on a comics page far, far away. Greetings and welcome to May the Panel Be With You, the Star Wars comic book show brought to you by the Punch Up Entertainment Network. I'm your humble host, Mike Gargoni, and joining me, as always, the Yom Argo to my honk, it's John Campbell.
I love a Star Wars issue where I'm like, I don't know if I'm pronouncing this correctly at all. Yom Argo I got, but there
might be a there might be a kind of a
I think that's the best reading of it because I don't think it's a hook or a hook. Yeah. Anyway, folks, it's the 80s Star Wars comic.
It is.
It's just so silly.
It is, and we love it for that. Because, yes, we are talking about issue number 73 that was released in July of 1983.
Oh,
and
wow,
we are firmly in the Mary Jo Duffy era of Star Wars, because she's on writing and plotting, and we've got Ron Frenz on pencils, we've got Tom Palmer on inks, Glennis Ween, eventually Oliver on colors, and Joe Rosen on letters, with a couple of editors in the form of, the usual crew.
Indeed. Mary Jo Duffy, already we're only a couple issues into her run on this, and you said she's gonna be with us to the end, right? Basically to the end of the series. Yep. There is definitely a much goofier vibe, I feel like, to her scripts, which makes sense. She came from Power Man and Iron Fist, which was not an out and out comedy, but was in the buddy action realm, so there was a lot of humor to it. And I will say, the thing I was going to say earlier is I am enjoying these issues, because if this comic isn't going to be legitimate Star Wars, which it's just not because of the era and stuff, and they're working around the movies, then at least be cartoony fun.
Yeah, and look, this is Star Wars akin to the Droids and Ewoks animated shows. This is Star Wars akin to the kind of more lighthearted side of Star Wars, which there is room for in Star Wars. Like your Star Wars Adventures comics is what would be the modern day kind of version of that.
I will, having read some of those, I will say those are still actually better than this. But yes, in that tone is for sure. The thing that's really strange, right, is that this is basically the only other thing that you would have other than the movies. So this would have been, I imagine, some real whiplash if you were particularly like an older fan.
Not necessarily. Because there is one aspect of Star Wars comics of this era that we really haven't discussed much. I know it's come up a couple of times, but
it's the strip?
The newspaper strip comic was running simultaneously, and it's just a lot harder to track down and read these days. It's possible. You can find bits and pieces of it, but the reason we're not covering it like simultaneously is just because it's harder to track down.
Especially digitally. I know they've published a couple. I don't know if they've published it in its entirety, but they have published a couple of the runs of it in print.
I've been trying to track it down for not an exorbitant amount of price. There was a complete edition hardcover that was printed a few years back that is like all of it and kind of printed as it was originally printed.
I think that because there's a company that just does those. Because I have this will not surprise anyone, the James Bond daily newspaper strip that they put out, and also the Star Trek one that they did.
Oh, yes, of course.
Because it's crazy to think about, because even by the time we were kids, the comic strip section of the newspaper was things like Garfield and Dilbert and stuff like that, right? But there was a time that it was like, a big part of Superman wasn't just the monthly comic Superman, but it was that he was daily in papers. There used to be
Spider-Man too.
Tons of that's the thing. There used to be tons of different. It wasn't all just sort of silly, simplistic cartoons in the papers. It was real deal comic stories. And the only one that's really
real deal, that also, like, there was maybe less effort put into the daily strips.
It's some more than others, right? You could see where they put a lot, but yes, it was sort of the idea. But like, people love to point out that Lex Luthor was born of the daily comic strip, not the comic book Superman, stuff like that. So it is interesting to think about that even still into the 80s, the idea that there was a Star Wars comic strip in papers is wild.
Yeah, but so let it not be said that this is the only Star Wars comic that exists at the time.
Do you know how much what the vibe of that was like, the comic strip? I can't say I've ever read it.
I've read bits and pieces of it. I haven't gone and like read through all of it because again, I'm trying to track down this hardcover. But it feels very more Flash Gordon-y.
That makes sense.
It's very much the sci-fi serial vibe.
Yeah. Okay.
And so this book kind of flirting with that tone every once in a while, the book we've been covering, makes a lot of sense because that was also the thing being produced over there. And like a lot of the same creative teams that we've been seeing pop up in this book also spent some time over on that strip as well. But
okay, yeah. I'm looking at I've got the Wikipedia open about it, and for sure it's your Archie Goodwins and Al Williamsons and stuff that worked on it.
Yep, 100%. And it is this book's transformation into something a little bit more rompy, because that's definitely how I would describe Joe Duffy's style. It's a romp.
Yes. For sure.
And that totally tracks with the, like, hey, we're trying to sell a comic book to kids thing that Star Wars inevitably sort of circles back to every now and again.
It's an interesting thing, right? And it's something that Lucas always, weirdly, of all the people, was always just like, well, it was always meant for children. And you're just like, it's tough to say that now, though, right? Like, I mean, it's a weird thing because it's just like, whether that's true or not, it isn't just for children anymore, right?
Well, it's because the children who were originally introduced to Star Wars are now like 40-year-olds and 50-year-olds. And so
right, that's
the franchise has to encompass a larger age bracket.
Yeah, we it's not, the thing about it is, like a lot of, superhero stuff as well, right? Is we do live in a world where people didn't grow out of it. We're still guys in our mid-30s who talk about it every week.
And I'd never do anything else.
We'd be doing this even if we weren't recording. I mean, that's the thing about this, right?
The whole reason we started podcasting is because people would hear us conversing about these things and being like, why aren't you recording this?
Yeah, you should just, if you did this in front of microphones, you could make some money.
Tens of dollars.
Yeah, all tens of dollars. Hey, we love our patrons.
We love our patrons. Patreon.com/punchumped.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk about this issue because, is this a romp?
Were you annoyed by the character of Danny last couple of issues? Well, guess what? We're about to double down.
It does almost feel, there's not enough time for there to actually be a reaction, but it did almost feel like, oh, you hated her? Well, guess what? The whole book's about her now.
And look, she'll dip for a little while after this, but like Danny is going to, and the Zeltrons as a whole are going to be a recurring character and like arc through the rest of this series. This is Joe Duffy putting her stamp on Star Wars.
In concept, I don't necessarily have an issue with Danny or the Zeltrons. In execution, good Lord.
Yeah, but talk about differing executions. Something I'm like right off the bat, because let's start with this cover. We've got Star Wars slapping a thing on there that says Double Jeopardy. I don't know as if we're ever in Double Jeopardy in this issue, but anyway.
Yeah, I don't know quite what that means, other than that just sounds good. But
this cover is so movie poster of a specific era of like action films, because there's these little vignettes all over the cover of the things you might encounter within this movie.
It's a rare time, that I have to be careful when I mention this franchise, but it's a little Bondian. If you look at the, like, particularly like the Roger Moore era, it was a lot of this. he'd be front and center, but then there'd be another little image of him on a jet ski or him in an airplane or something. All the little vignettes, as you say, vignettes of the action you'll see in the movie, or even things like Guns of Navarone or any of those sort of like mission-based action movies is just like, come see the thrills of this and that and this and this,
So on this particular cover, we have Leia and Danny front and center. They're going to get into some trouble together.
Yes. And then you've got Luke on a hang glider.
Yep, like you do in Star Wars.
You've got another guy, unclear exactly who it is, being pulled by a balloon.
Yep. We've got a really dashing over-the-shoulder shot of Lando looking concerned.
Going, what adventure will we find this month? You better buy it.
And then on the bottom of the page, we've got what is clearly Chewbacca fighting a bigger, hairier monster.
Yeah, and there's a castle in the background and mountains, and oh boy, I mean, they really are just going like, this thing is filled with excitement and adventure.
And we got the caption at the front here that says, "The terrible secret of the planet Las Bane."
Yeah, folks, get ready. It's Las Bane.
Viva Las Bane.
That was the less successful B-side for Elvis.
What is the terrible secret of Las Bane, John?
That there are big monsters?
Oh, okay. Just checking.
I mean, isn't that what it is?
I think so, yeah.
Cool. I like monsters.
But in terms of looks here, and we'll get into this as we get further into the issue, but I do want to start with, like, we change up people's costumes in this issue, and there are some good looks here. Let's start with Leia's. I love the white vest and the white gloves and the black body.
I gotta say, it's like Leia's kind of, this is sort of her take on the Han Solo costume, right?
Yeah, this is like action-adventure Leia, and I'm here for it.
Me too, because she can't just be wearing, a diplomatic dress to things all the time. This is she's out there now. She's an agent of the rebellion.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, let's get into it. We start on Leia looking disappointed, leaning on a tree.
I'm disappointed too, Leia, because when I look behind her, I see. I understand the idea of the Zeltrons, right? Is that they're...
John, describe the image for our listeners.
Luke and 3PO are negotiating with tiny aliens, and Danny just appears to be giving Luke a shoulder massage and is maybe also kissing his neck.
Yep.
Because here's the thing. This is what I'm saying about the Zeltron. I understand this idea that due to the pheromones and stuff, they are... chemically bonded to somebody, right? Is sort of the idea.
And we have not explored that at all in this book. It's just everyone so far has been saying, oh, you know how Zeltrons are.
Right, exactly. But the idea that, like, that means they literally physically just have to be constantly touching them is goofy.
Well, yes, but that's where we're at.
And also, there's some implications in this later that are really like, wow, that is some of the most overtly sexual connotations I've seen in any Star Wars thing.
Jo Duffy is not afraid of being a little risque in her Star Wars comic.
Yeah, it's interesting because we've talked about this. Star Wars isn't. There's tension, but there's not a lot of sex in Star Wars.
No, there's not a lot of explicitly erotic stuff either.
Right. It's all just kind of like there's attraction and there's banter and stuff like that, but there's not necessarily like, oh, those two are going to go have sex.
It is storybook and like fairy tale love and relationships.
Romance. Yeah, so that's an interesting. Whereas in this, they're definitely like, they don't come out and say it, but there's a lot of like, the Zeltrons, am I right? That'll be a good time, And you're like, wow, okay, interesting.
Yeah, we'll get to the Imperials who have that reaction later.
Well, definitely we will. Let's talk about the Losbees. The Losbees, who are the citizens of Las Bane, and they're little cat people, kind of.
Because we find Luke and 3PO, and 3PO actually serving a purpose here, which I like to see.
This is the most valid reason to bring 3PO anywhere I think we've had in the whole comic.
So they're here talking to these little Losbies that are like, we can tell which ones are boys and girls because they're color-coded blue and pink.
And you know, we just don't have time, right?
They look like, okay, this is going to be a comic book deep cut. There is a run in X-Men in which Mojo makes clones of the X-Men that are the X-Babies, right?
Yeah. Yes.
These are the X-Babies of Beast.
Yes. Yep.
I don't know how else to describe them. I'm at a
No, you got it. That's it. Yeah, they're very silly.
They're very little like munchkins of like Wonderland and Oz. They're very like, okay, if the Ewoks were also wearing little jumpsuits, because all these guys are wearing green jumpsuits.
Yes, they are. And I mean, it's and we'll get to the stuff later, but you are like, these guys are running a planet?
Well, I don't know if they're running it, but they live in this area, because the whole reason we're here is that there's a rebel pilot
getting that? Yes.
That crash landed here named Yom Argo.
Which is, I gotta say, a pretty great Star Wars name.
Oh yeah, that's Glup Shido all over the place, is Yom Argo.
Absolutely. Just sounds. These are just sounds at a certain point.
He crashed here and he died. And they're trying to figure out what happened to the like mission tapes that were on his presumably X-Wing that crashed here.
Right.
And the Losbies are a little bit dismissive of the whole thing.
Right, and I mean, there's a lot of just kind of like, well, could you get him to focus? Could you get 3PO? Because obviously they're speaking everything to them through 3PO.
Right, and we get to this next page where it's a lot more of Danny being all over Luke.
Oh God!
While he's trying to have a conversation through 3PO with these little like beastie catty folk.
The implication to me, at least the way Luke is playing it, is like this has been going on for a while, and so he's just like, I'm just gonna have to work through this. This is just gonna keep happening. So I just got to do my job while this woman is all over me.
Yeah, and good on Luke for trying to maintain focus here.
I mean, yeah. Hey, he's a pro, man. All right, he is a pro. Anyway, so they're talking about. He goes. Okay, well, even if you don't know where Yom Argo is, there would have been a droid on his ship. What happened to that?
And what do you think about this? So, when we see the text boxes for the Losbies, it's all of these. I don't know, what are they? Just like little lines in their text boxes?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're supposed to be lines, but I think we're still hand writing at this point, so they're not perfect, you know. But yeah, they're just, I don't know what that's supposed to be. It's just supposed to be like a.
Yeah, that was the thing but we do see occasionally the word hooks.
That's the only thing that's coming through that can be understood with, you know, in the parlance of Star Wars, galaxy basic syllables, right?
Right. Because, like, in a different, more complicated, like, digital lettering situation, you'd probably have some weird, like, wingdings type alphabet to represent that they're speaking an alien language.
Absolutely. The other thing here is I do think where he's like, hey, 3PO, could you get them to stop giggling? I mean, I can't blame the Losbies too much. This woman's all over him. How serious should they be taking this guy?
Yeah, it seems like there's a real failure of being able to take the situation seriously, kind of because of Danny.
Yeah. I at that point, too, I got to put it on Leia to some extent to be like, hey, Leia, maybe you should call it and don't have Luke be the main, communicator with them.
Yeah. As we saw on the first page, Leia's in sort of a mood, and we'll get into that as we get deeper into the issue. But
the other thing that's written out, by the way, aside from the dashes, is also the Losbies going, tee-hee.
They're definitely laughing at the whole situation. But Luke, trying to take this thing seriously, is just like, look, if we don't figure out where this stuff is, the Empire's going to show up and try to take it.
Yeah. And you're not going to like that. No one's going to like that.
Because what we get told is that Argo's mission was, for some reason, very important. We never figure out why.
And also, I will say that this is the real like wishy-washy vagueness of this story. Is what Argo's mission is vague, and then there's some lip service to like, hey, don't we have other more important things to do? Oh, we happen to be close to this planet, so blah 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 blah. Right? Like,
yeah. Well,
anyway.
Specifically on the next page, we have Leia like thinking to herself, like, we're here for these tapes. They keep calling them tapes, which I find so funny. But they're here for some mission logs that Argo would have left behind. But the only reason they're still stuck here is A, because the Rebel Alliance asked them to do it, even though they're technically out there hunting for Han Solo.
Right, but we can't, whatever. We have to keep treading water until we get to Return of the Jedi.
And B, for some reason, as soon as they landed, the Millennium Falcon stopped working.
Yeah, the engines shut down. They're broken down on this planet. So
yeah, but
nobody's happy.
3PO basically gets some information out of these little Losbies saying like, oh yeah, okay, they set up the tapes as like a sort of memorial to this other Losbie that died trying to save this guy, and they put it over in the Forbidden City, which is across the valley there. And what do we see across the valley? Why, it's this big castle on a cliffside.
I mean, I will say it's maybe the most impressive piece of art in this is the shot from behind Leia looking out at this big field leading up to the mountains where the castle is.
Mm-hmm. And she has this wistful moment looking across the valley in her action fit with the white gloves and the white vest. And basically thinking to herself just like, I don't want to be here right now.
This sucks.
Because in the next page, we get a lot of her interiority as she's starting to walk away. And she sort of gives us the recap here of just like, we were hunting for Han Solo. We want to free him from Boba Fett. And now we're stuck here. Why are we the ones doing this? I understand that we're part of the bigger Rebel Alliance, but Han is my priority here.
Han is our friend, which is an interesting way for her to think of it, right? Because, this is also the person she loves.
The last exchange of dialogue they have in Empire is, I love you, I know, but like, why aren't we harping on that? Yeah.
And other parts of this comic have been like, we have to find the person I love, and her going, oh, Han, and then here it's just like, hey, Han's our friend.
Do you think Joe Duffy read anything of what was written before she took over the book?
No, I don't think anybody has been. I don't think any time we've changed writers, anyone is reading anything other than, if there were some hanging notes about where to take the story or where to pick up from or something like that. But no, I don't think so. Anyway, but yeah, so the whole thing here is, we get all that caption. And basically she says, like, look, the rebellion doesn't care about rescuing Han. This is our personal mission.
I mean, Han is just one guy in the larger conflict between the rebellion and the Empire, right?
This guy, damn it.
He's not a bad guy, but like General Riken's a little more concerned about the Imperial war machine coming to crush the rebel fleet near Sullust.
Yeah, he would be. No, so then she wanders over and it's just like, hey, Lando, who has very sexily undone some buttons on his shirt. Oh, just been working so hard there, Leia.
Oh, Lando is totally like a roadside mechanic who is just like sweaty in all the right places and wiping grease off of his manly hands.
Yeah. Oh, and he's rubbing his neck. Oh, man, Chewie and I have been at it all day. Yeah, so they're like, hey, can you figure... He goes, the problem is we can't... The Falcon seems to be just fine. It's weird why it's not working. We can't... Chewie and I can't find anything wrong with it.
Yeah, Chewie and Lando and R2 are going over the Millennium Falcon trying to figure this out. So they're stuck here for the time being.
R2, they talk about, is running through the circuits.
True.
They've checked all the engines and stuff, so R2 is running diagnostic.
He's linking up with what's left of L3's consciousness and being like, hey, girl, what's up?
Oh, man, there's a couple I'm shipping.
That's a power couple if there ever was one.
Oh, good Lord. Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, so Luke walks over. Danny still all over him.
And Leia has this line here being like, Because Lando had just said, like, I don't know how we picked up some kind of bug in our system. And Leia has this line that says, well, that wouldn't surprise me. The ship has been picking up all sorts of undesirable little things lately, as Danny walks up.
Damn, girl.
Yeah. There's this kind of tension here that a little bit reads like Leia is jealous of Danny in some ways, at least at first.
Who was the Shira Bree? Remember that whole thing too?
Yeah,
Similar
exactly.
That one was. I will say this is not as overt and awful as that was. That was really upsetting, like character assassination kind of stuff. Yeah. This is a little bit more like, at least this could be read as, hey, this is pretty unprofessional.
Yeah, and I think it's a combination of things. The way Leia's written here, it's a combination of just like, this is unprofessional and sort of like distracting from both the mission we have and the mission we want to do, and also this whole thing is a distraction from the mission Leia wants to do, which is rescue Han.
What Luke says when he's like, hey, what's up, Leia? Is it because our failing to find Han? We haven't given up on him. And she's like, where she was going with that, a lot could be read into.
Yeah. I want to talk about some looks here, though, because we have Luke coming back. Earlier, he was just wearing a black tank top. Now he's throwing on his yellow jacket.
Love it. Well, maybe not my favorite look, because I do love them all in black, of course, in Jedi. But that yellow jacket from the end of New Hope rules.
Yeah, and we see it back here. I dig it.
Once again, that's a good, like, Luke out in the field look.
And everyone's wearing driving gloves for some reason. That sort of glove that has, like, the back of the hand exposed.
Yeah, that's the glove that Han wears a couple times, and I like that now it's just become, hey, that's cool. Everybody should have that.
Because Leia's wearing them, and Luke's wearing them. I think Danny's wearing them, too.
Once again, I think the only person who on film ever wears them is Han.
Yeah.
And I definitely had an action figure of him wearing those gloves.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, because I say had as if I don't have a bunch of Han Solo action figures in the other room. No. All right. So, and then 3PO comes and going, Master Luke, sir, Master Luke. I've been continuing my conversations with the Losby leaders. They really are creatures with a fascinating life cycle.
And look, we're going to have 3PO cut off here, and this is going to be a runner through the rest of the issue, is 3PO constantly getting cut off when he's trying to impart important information, which is, of course, a classic 3PO gag.
It is. It's also, though, it is, but it also further pulls into this thing, which is I do think Duffy always leans a little bit on these sort of, and I'm not enjoying it in the context of this comic, but these sort of, and we talked about this last week, like sitcom-y, kind of like, oh, dear.
Mm-hmm. Why, did you know that they, and then we cut to the next page with Luke saying, would you tell us about it later, 3PO? We're discussing something important.
And then Leia's still moping.
Yeah. So we start talking about what R2 is figuring out here, and it turns out that the exhaust ports of the Falcon have become clogged with pollen.
Yes. Which you would think there would be more things like that happen when you're just landing on alien planets you don't know about, right?
Well, yeah, but that would require writers to think about that sort of thing, John.
I will just say, though, it's a thing that when they said this, I was like, oh, that makes sense. In fact, that might happen all the time. Yeah. Because unlike Star Trek, where you can beam down, you actually have to take your ship into these places that it may not be built to handle what's in their atmosphere.
Right. I mean, it's half the reason you land near the settlements, right? Is because that's where you know ships can land and take off. Otherwise, who knows what's floating around in the atmosphere that might gunk up the works.
Absolutely. So I actually like this. Here's a question, though, that I had, which is Lando says, 3PO, get over here. You have to translate for R2. It's an interesting thing about Star Wars, right? Some people know what R2 is saying. Some people don't.
Yep. He speaks what's called binary, which is like the droid language in Star Wars. And so like Luke understands binary. 3PO does, but most other people don't. I think Chewie does, too.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because Chewie then is not understood by everybody, so it can be, it can be tough. But yes, I do like the idea that Lando's like, hey, he's beeping and a boop, and you got to get over here and tell me what he's saying.
So they are about to have another conversation when suddenly there's a baroom.
And it is one hell of a bar room, you can tell, because it takes up most of the panel.
Because, we've got company. Imperial company.
I gotta say, though, what Imperial ship is this?
It's one that Ron Friends decided to draw.
It does not look like anything from Star Wars.
Yeah, it looks like kind of like a miniature version of the Battlestar Galactica, if I'm going to be honest.
Actually, yeah, it does feel very Galactica-y, which, of course, for those who know anything about Galactica, did actually also reuse a lot of Star Wars footage.
For sure. And they're not opening fire on the ground, but it looks like they're like rocket thrusters that are letting them land are like blasting away at the treetops here.
Adds up for the Empire, right? That's like even in just operating their ship, they're doing damage to the world.
Oh, I mean, obviously it's been covered in greater detail in the Andor show, but for the longest time, what the Gorman Massacre was Grand Moff Tarkin just landing his ship on a crowd of people because he's an asshole.
Oh man, so nasty, and I love it.
But yeah, the Empire is here. And Leia says it was only a matter of time. The Imperials were in hot pursuit of Argo when he took shelter here, once word of the crash got out.
Yeah, it's bad news.
So they landed right next door, I guess, but the Empire doesn't know they're here yet.
Right, and of course we've got, a cadre of stormtroopers and one officer.
Like you do.
Yep. And so they basically are just like, hey, Lando's like, hey, play it cool. We don't really know they don't know what they're looking for. They don't know we're here. Let's not, cause trouble.
Yeah. We also get some establishment here of the fact that the Losbees don't like advanced technology. Luke has a line here that says, "Of course we can. They all seem to hate advanced technology, and they've had enough previous encounters with the Empire to be convinced that Imperial advancement represents enforced technological advancement."
Yeah, and that's which is kind of an interesting read. An interesting idea for a Star Wars race, right? That like they have no political involvement necessarily. They just don't like anybody coming in with a bunch of technology.
Right, and the rebellion will at least sort of like let them do their own thing, whereas the Empire be like, well, everyone needs a chain code, and we need a space dock here, and if we're gonna raid your planet for resources, of course we'll need to bring in mining equipment.
And these little things just are like chattering and giggling and saying hooks. And Lando finally is just like, you fellas can feel free to help us with this if you get bored just watching.
I'd be pretty annoyed too if there was a bunch of little like cat Oompa Loompas just wandering around and laughing at me the whole time.
Yeah, especially now that we're in like potentially life or death stakes and they're just like,
Yeah, exactly.
God damn, I'm gonna backhand one of these things, so help me God. I'm gonna do it. Yeah.
I will punt a Lasby, don't think I won't.
Luke, oh my God, I'm gonna hit him. Oh my God, I'm gonna hit him. Anyway, Danny apparently has managed to cool down enough to have a conversation with Leia.
Yeah, though she does start it with being like, well, how do you like that? They've forgotten all about me.
Me, hot Danny. I do like 3PO. I do like 3PO going, and me.
It's like, yes, 3PO, we all forgot about you.
I will say, and it makes sense because she is obviously more comedically minded than a lot of the writers we've had. Mary Jo Duffy maybe does write the best 3PO we've seen anybody write.
Well, because she doesn't give him like huge blocks of text explaining things on every page. It is just a lot of that. 3PO is trying to like insert himself into conversations and failing.
Right. It's just that then that's the humor of the character, right? Is always he's just like, oh, the worst moment for me to bring this up. But
Danny and Leia sort of get into it here because Danny is just like, oh, I hope the Empire doesn't find me. I'm wanted in 6 systems. And
how many are you wanted in?
They sort of get into it in this back and forth where Leia's just like, what are you even doing here? What do you bring to the table? And Danny's just like, hey, I'm a good thief. What are you doing? You're calling yourself a princess. Princess of what? Like, probably being unaware of the whole Alderaan thing, but...
I think I let me say I hope so. But yeah, she there's a tension here about like and look, I don't want it, but it is just kind of thing about just like, well, I'm the new girl here.
There's a little bit of that. It's very like Faith being introduced to Buffy the Vampire Slayer, right? It's just like it's the new hotness. It's the new sort of slightly more edgy character.
Yeah, and I like that Leia's like, you wanted, and because she even says, I have the death sentence. She's like, the death sentence? What did you do to get that? And she's like, robbed a whole bunch of stuff with Rick Duel and Cheeto.
Right. Oh, lest we forget about Rick Duel.
I will never forget about Rick Duel. Never, ever.
Danny eventually says, but I've never seen you do anything to justify having your roles. Why don't you prove your worth to your precious rebellion? And Leia's like, well, what do you suggest? And Danny's like, well, let's get the taste back. And Leia's like, oh, I think we should. And Danny says, good, tonight.
All right, fine. I will. Great. I'm happy for you. Once again, it's very sitcom-y, but yeah. I'm enjoying this more than I've enjoyed some of the other comics because of that. And you've just got 3PO saying, oh dear, oh dear.
So yeah, seemingly out of spite, Leia and Danny now have a plan to go rob the Forbidden City of the Losbies to get these tapes back.
Yes. And that involves them stealing balloons?
Yeah, so because the Losbies don't really like any kind of advanced technology, and we saw them in the background of a panel a few pages ago, but there are these like balloon craft as well as some hang gliders sitting around here to let the Losbies like move across the valley.
Right. Because yeah, there's this huge valley between where they are and where these, this castle on a hill kind of thing.
Which keeps getting called the Forbidden City.
That's where we need to go. The Forbidden City.
Yeah, surely this won't upset the locals.
I can't imagine.
So anyway, they start rigging up a balloon, and Leia's like, how the hell do you know about how to fly a balloon? And honestly, Danny comes up with this really lame reasoning of just like, we spent a lot of time on Stenos with all those gargoyle guys. When you live around guys that fly around, you got to learn how to fly.
And you're like, okay, I'll go with that, but okay. Because that implies, what, you had access to balloons on that planet?
Or just that any mode of flying transportation all kind of works under a similar theory.
Yeah, that's also a thing, too. It's just like, look, I flew an X-Wing, so I can fly a balloon. I mean, what?
Luke basically does the same thing later this issue.
Well, we'll get to Luke's hang gliding with the Force later. Hang gliding with the Force. It's coming to Disneyland. It's a new ride.
It's Tatooine Adventure. You just are hang gliding over the sands of Tatooine.
You know what? I would not be surprised for a second if they did that.
Fair enough.
Yeah, they'll do anything, man, because they love money. But
then, someone's coming.
Yeah. Well, we better do something.
Danny says, I'll go see who it is. Stay right there. She leaves Leia to hang on to the balloon by herself.
And it's this guy. Do we get a name on this guy?
No, he's just Imperial Officer number 6.
I just love him. The way he just, like, every time we see him, he's just, like, stalking around.
Yeah, and we cut to, it's the Imperials, and it's this Imperial officer, a bunch of stormtroopers, and the Losbies, and they're just moving around. And one of the stormtroopers, I guess, can translate for these guys.
Yeah, that's interesting. Because they don't have a protocol droid with them, which we know the Empire does, and I wouldn't have been weirded out if they had one with them.
Yeah, but maybe they didn't necessarily know they were going to need one when they came here.
But man, it's convenient we brought the one guy who speaks Losby for some reason.
Yeah, he took a correspondence course.
Yeah, hey, do you know Duolingo? Got on my phone. Yeah. I got proficient in Shriwook, and I thought, you know what, Losby next.
Yeah, I mean, they basically share a similar root language of furry person.
And I do, every time you see the Losbys, they're always just like,
They got these little shit-eating grins. I mean, I compared them to Beast, but like, especially the 80s era of Beast.
Yes.
very similar.
Very much so. But yeah, they are just like, it's just like,
yeah, I don't trust them.
No, and there is a reason for this. We'll come to discover, and they are kind of shitty.
But they're walking, and if they keep moving, they're going to head right to Leia. So Danny has to come up with a way of distracting these chuckleheads.
And guess what motive what's her move here?
Strip down and dance like a woodland nymph in the moonlight.
It's very similar to what Uhura does in Star Trek V with her sexy fan dance, too.
Oh, we are a fan dance away from copyright infringement, yes.
Hey, Shatner goes, hey, that was my idea. Don't steal from the best. All right. Yeah, she immediately... And this guy... She doesn't even know this. This is as best she can do, but she has absolutely chosen the right tactic for this guy specifically, because his eyes go wide instantly. Oh,
yeah, and he even says, "A Zeltron? You didn't tell me you had any Zeltrons on the planet." And Danny sort of has to cover for this, being like, "I just love the forest and the moonlight. It makes me so full of." As her heaving bosom comes into frame.
Mm-hmm.
And we literally have sighs coming from the Imperial officer and a stormtrooper here going like, oh my.
Yeah. She's just so hot. And I like Leia's like, nah, well.
But then Leia, as she's kind of been like, oh yeah, she's full of something, starts to realize that she's getting slowly dragged away by this balloon.
Mm-hmm. Like the cross cutting on this next page of Danny dancing, the balloon taking Leia away, and just boom, boom, boom.
I think it's a very well composited page. It's a 8-panel spread, and just like panel of Danny dancing, panel of balloon slowly getting farther away, and Leia getting dragged with it.
Here's where I was getting someone to talk, because this Imperial officer is like, I did a tour of duty on Zeltros once in my younger days. It was quite an experience.
And one of the stormtroopers is just like, yes, sir.
And then he's thinking to himself, how come I never get assigned to any of the fun planets?
You gotta figure the life of a stormtrooper is like, you're either being an oppressive fascist asshole or just like kicking it on Coruscant, right? And I mean, you can do both, but there are certain planets where you're going to be like murdering a lot more innocent people than other ones.
Then there are other places that are mostly like under complete Empire control, so you're just kind of chilling.
Yeah, exactly.
And I imagine there's probably a lot of jockeying for those positions, right? It's like,
sure. So whatever guys are hanging out on Zeltros, I'm sure are just fine.
Yeah.
Other than being horrible fascist oppressors.
Yeah, I mean, that's just that goes without saying, obviously. That's the general vibe of their whole thing. But yeah, I do. But the whole thing of it was quite an experience. Is just like, I got laid a lot. Oh, yeah. Takes me back.
There are venereal diseases they don't even have names for in the Empire.
They found several just inside of me. I'm in several medical textbooks.
We're quickly drifting to What We Do in the Shadows.
Very much so. But I also like that they don't do anything. They just go, not bad. Anyway, let's keep going.
That's the power of Danny's curvaceous dancing.
I just think it's so funny that the guy doesn't like go up to her or anything. He's just like, yeah, all right, enjoy the show, fellas. All right, let's go.
Well, we did get a dropped line a couple of pages ago, a bit like, look, we searched the crash ship. There was nothing there. I guess it's time to go.
Yeah, there's a lot. I will say, as much as I enjoy it, there's a lot of just like, kind of like hand wavy.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Anyway, so she's successfully distracted them, and she runs back to Leia, only to discover, yes, Leia is being carried away by this balloon.
Yeah. And she's like, Leia, stay where you are. And Leia says, I'm going to kill you.
And Danny's big move is to leap off of this knoll, as she says, and jump on top of the balloon.
Which she does. So with Danny weighing the balloon down, now the balloon isn't just constantly ascending into the sky. So they can sort of just ride it across the valley.
And then Holy God, this Three's Company cutaway.
We cut to Luke and Lando flanking 3PO with Luke and Lando in a joint text box saying, "They're doing what?"
That's an act break on an 80s sitcom.
Yes, 100%. You would cut to commercial.
Star Wars will be right back.
Brought to you by these sponsors.
Yeah, it's really, this aired at 8:30 on CBS. Anyway, we come back, and yes, they're floating towards the Forbidden City.
And thankfully, the wind is taking them precisely in that direction.
Yeah, I love this whole idea about, like, and there's this whole argument about, will you stop complaining, Leia, and help me steer? And Leia's like, how are we supposed to steer? Oh, never mind, the wind's taking us right where we need to go.
Because, yeah, like, to get across what this looks like, Leia is literally like the house from Up, dangling from the bottom of this giant balloon with Danny riding on top of it.
I love the idea, and this is very lazy writing, but I do just love the idea about, like, help me steer. Oh, wait, never mind, we don't need to steer. We're good. We're good.
Yeah, that's fine.
Meanwhile,
back on the cliff, Luke is like, they have no idea how dangerous it is over there. 3PO is going on about how he tried to warn them, because of course he did. And then Luke goes for that hang glider.
He sure does. Because he has to, because it's a new action beat.
Yeah. But we cut back to the Forbidden City.
Yeah, this city is beautiful and huge. Look at those doors and windows. Aren't they too big for the last piece? Oh, maybe that's why it's forbidden. What?
Yeah, anyway, they're sneaking around. They're trying to find these missing tapes, and there's nobody around, and they don't know why.
Not a single person, but it's this huge city. This huge and clearly maintained city, obviously. It's not, a decayed,
I mean, if any of the Conan the Barbarian stories I've ever read have taught me anything, it's that this place is full of snake people, and we just don't see them.
The amount of forbidden cities that guy has run across.
Oh, so many forbidden cities. And they're all just chock-a-block with snake people.
Non-stop, man. One of my favorite things in the Conan movie is the idea about, like, you haven't heard of Thulsa Doom? He runs one of those snake cults, and I'm like, one of those? I love the idea that there's a bunch. Yeah, everywhere you go, another goddamn snake cult.
Go read, I would say probably a solid third of the Conan stories, and there's snake cults all over the place.
Yeah, Howard really hated snakes, obviously. Anyway, so and then they enter this one building, and boy, is it psychedelic.
Yeah, we enter the acid trip treasure room that has just like panels of colored squares on the ceiling, and the walls are made of gold, and there's gold coins and gems everywhere. And hey, there are the tapes.
Hey, wait, what's the other thing we know Danny is aside from horny? A thief.
A horny thief, you say?
I wonder if that will... Yeah, I do like the idea that the tapes are in the center of a Scrooge McDuck pool of gold.
I just love the ruby there that is like the size of an ottoman, like a couch ottoman.
Yeah.
As opposed to the Turkish ottoman.
Yeah, not to be confused. People thought maybe it was the size of the Ottoman Empire. And I love also the golden chalice, like the golden goblet that's just like, it's like, I'm done with my wine. Drop it into the gold.
Well, that's your scooping goblet. That's for scooping up piles of gold.
Hold on, I got to pay for my DoorDash.
Is a goblet of gold? That'll do, yeah.
Not enough.
Keep the change.
Yeah, keep the change. I'll take the pizza. Anyway, let's go back to Luke is about to do some hang gliding. As always, more ripped than Mark Hamill ever was, even in his prime, Luke.
Yeah, that's okay. Because Lando is just like, hey, you don't know what you're doing.
And he's like, who cares? I got the Force.
The Force. Yeah. I'll do the best I can and trust in the Force for the rest.
I do and he does. He takes off.
But then we have Lando asking after him as he's flying, do you really plan to trust your life to a mystic energy field that you can't even see? And Luke with just a one word, yup.
I got to say, Lando's been around him enough that he should know the answer to that, right? Because he's like, You've done some pretty amazing things that I've seen, but I mean, not that he would believe in the Force, but that he would believe Luke would believe in it, is what I'm saying. This guy's kind of all in.
We don't have Luke and Lando really sharing any scenes in the movie until Return of the Jedi.
Not in the movie. Once again, I guess that would get back to, did she actually read any of the previous stuff? Because we just finished the Luke and Lando story.
I know.
But yeah. But I do like him going, the Force.
Yeah. Anyway, 3PO is trying to get a word in edgewise, and still nobody's listening to him until it's too late.
And total sitcom, or even beyond that Scooby-Doo beat of 3PO sees something. He's like, sir. By the way, here's a question I have, too, about the Master Lando stuff. Is everyone 3PO's master?
Until stated otherwise, yes.
Because he doesn't call... That's not in the movies, though. He calls...
It's just Master Luke, yeah.
Master Luke, Captain Solo, Princess Leia, right? Like, it's not... But in this, it's just everyone is his... He's just subservient to all.
I guess. It's protocol, John.
I guess just based on the movies and stuff, I always assumed it was just like Luke is his master. Luke owns him and R2.
Again, the less we think about exactly what goes into droid ownership.
And then, man, the harsh turn of Lando being like, what?
Because he gets whammed on this next page.
I mean, yeah, it's mostly, for those not watching on YouTube, most of the panel is the word wham.
And this is like a George Michael level of wham.
Mm-hmm. Though pre-exclamation point, they haven't earned it yet.
No.
Yeah. And he gets whammed so hard, he almost falls off of this cliff face.
Yeah, but he's dangling there. 3PO's trying to help him up. Obviously, 3PO not doing a spectacular job. But turn...
We've talked about this before. What level of strength does 3PO have?
It depends who's writing it.
Well, yeah, we have seen that. But I do like his reasoning here. He says, but only a Wookiee could have hit me as hard as that. Why would Chewie want to hit me? Okay.
Also, he has time to say all of that while he's dangling off this cliff.
Yeah. Oh, it wasn't Chewbacca that hit you, sir. It was that. What is that? And...
That is a hunk.
This is something Thor should be fighting, right?
Oh yeah, this is something from the realms of Yggdrasil. This is some kind of troll or a beast of the 9 realms.
I'm pretty sure I saw this thing get hit by Mjolnir at some point.
Yeah, I think Hercules wrestled this thing once.
Oh yeah, 100%. I could see that. Yeah,
and it is this big purple, hairy monster with glowing red eyes and fangs, and it's wearing like a barbarian tunic and like foot wraps.
Yeah, it mugged a Herculoid. The thing about this is always a thing I love about this comic, and some of the fun of it is this is a Star Wars comic, but then there are things like this design where you're like, that is not a Star Wars design. That is a Marvel Comics design, and that is absolutely what this monster is. But yeah, that is a hook, sir. A hook.
And it's speaking in the same, like, line, weird, like,
but much more emphatic because it's bigger and bolder.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
And then we cut to the next page, and Chewie's there, and he's wrestling it.
Chewie does just come out of nowhere, and he's like, come here.
And 3PO didn't really need to narrate that, like, oh, yes, there's Chewbacca.
And as you can see, a Wookiee is considerably smaller than a Hook. Is he considerably smaller than the thing? It doesn't look like he's that much smaller than it.
Chewie's like 8 feet tall, and this thing's like 10 feet tall, and it's like way bulkier than him.
I guess it's bulky. It's hard to tell when they're wrestling around. I do like that by the end of this thing just has its hands around Chewie's throat.
Yeah, so this fight's happening while 3PO is kind of explaining, like, oh yeah, those cute little cat guys, they grew up to be these big motherfuckers.
And he couldn't put... Oh, I guess he did put that together. It's just nobody listened to that.
Yeah, right? Exactly. He's been trying to tell people since the start of the issue.
Yeah. Maybe listen to 3PO every once in a while when he's not yammering about it.
But how do you differentiate the yammering from the important information?
That's true. When he's yammering about how dangerous space travel is or whatever. The odds of surviving an asteroid field. That's when you know to shut him up.
Anyway, yeah. Apparently, the hooks are the like adult version of the Losbys, and they all live in the Forbidden City. But sometimes one or two wander out into the woods and cause trouble.
It's a little convenient, right? That like, oh, they were all over there until it was convenient for the plot to have one of them be here.
Yeah, but we cut back to the Forbidden City where all of them are. And remember how we said it was all empty? Well, it ain't empty anymore.
No, because now there's a bunch of these guys.
Yeah, so they got their tapes.
We saw blue and pink ones when they were little. Now there are blue and purple and pink ones.
Well, look, you're putting gender dimorphism as we understand it on to a different species, John.
I'm just saying, obviously the purple ones are in the minority because we didn't see them as represented in the group.
Sure, but we don't know about the whole biological life cycle of the Losbys or the hooks.
This is true. And you know what I love is that none of it matters.
No. Because Danny and Leia are skedaddling out of here. They got what they came for, and they are confronted by a hallway full of hooks.
Yeah. Bye. Yeah. There they are, and they're all going.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But then, we do cut to a panel of Luke on his hang glider.
But can I say how much I hate why don't you shoot them? Where's your blaster? I left it on the cliffside. Where's yours? It fell into the canyon. Yeah. And then, Luke is like, don't worry. I'm gliding over with my gloves.
But cut back to Chewie being strangled.
Because it's taken Lando 10 minutes to get back up on top, right?
Based on how long 3PO was talking for? Yeah, probably.
Chewie is, being strangled to death.
But he's got to think of something fast, or Chewie's had it, and 3PO's like, well, if I may make a suggestion, sir, why don't you shoot that bastard?
And does he ever... Why don't you cap that motherfucker?
I just love the idea, because this is what ends up happening, is in the next page, like, Chewie's being strangled, but then there's a, like, asterisk in the Herc's, dialogue, and he just falls over, and then we cut to Lando with a gun being like, hey, it worked.
Yeah. I said ice him. And
3PO being like, knowing their aversion to technology, I was fairly certain that they'd have no defense against being stunned by a simple blaster.
Yeah. I guess he didn't kill him.
I mean, we don't see the rings. We don't know how this guy was shot. All we know is he's
I think it's interesting that there is no, like, pew sound, at least. It's just the asterisk of him getting hit.
Yeah. Anyway, turns out guns work on people.
Hey, this is great, because we've got guns. Yeah.
Their one weakness, guns.
And I do like the idea, though, that Lando couldn't have come up with that on his own. 3PO's like, hold on, wait a minute. That deadly weapon on your hip. That could be useful.
These creatures are nigh indestructible except for their one vital weakness, being shot.
Damn, how'd they figure that out?
Anyway, R2 rolls up with a pa-weep beep beep, letting them know that, hey, the Falcon's fixed up, but unfortunately so is the Imperial ship.
Yeah, uh-oh. Well, that's bad because most of our party is missing.
Yeah, and so we've got Leia and Danny cornered in the Forbidden City, and then we have this weird 3-panel where hooks are being just, like, disappearing off the bottom of the page, and it turns out they're all being shot by Luke.
Boy, and then Luke in a very James Bondian, like, hello, with the smoking. By the way, always the weird thing about the gun smoking.
Yeah, he's just leaning there on one shoulder, gun sort of up by his head, being like, well, hello there.
A very not Luke Skywalker moment is what I'm saying.
Yeah. It's more of a Han Solo moment.
Very much a Han Solo. Because he did kill these guys, right?
Why would Luke think to stun them? Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway. And then I will say, it is a little bit like, hey, we got to end this issue.
Hard cut to the last page here where they're like, well, it looks like we solved all of those problems.
Yeah, and don't worry, the Imperials have left without bothering us.
Well, they're out on patrol because Luke's like, oh, by the way, 3PO, are these Losbies going to be ticked off that we stole what we needed out of their Forbidden City? And 3PO's just like, oh no, once we figured out that they were VHS tapes, the Losbies were like, ew, gross technology.
I did like that, yeah. Don't worry, in another 10 years, it'll be obsolete. Yeah. No, it's all everything wraps up very conveniently here, right?
Yeah, because on the second to last panel, they're like, "Oh, hey, there goes the Imperials. Wait a minute, I thought the Imperials were still out on patrol. Who's flying that ship?" And Leia's like, "Well, didn't Danny just walk away for a second?" And then hard cut to Danny at the helm of the ship, covered in gold jewelry with her scooping goblet in front of her and a bunch of gems piled up behind her.
Yeah, man, she's rich.
So I guess Danny was really just hanging around Luke long enough to go get some treasure, and
it's unclear exactly when this became her plan and stuff like that, right?
I think it was as soon as she saw the treasure.
Oh, yes, for sure that. But was her plan always I'll hang out with them until I find, because she's immediately like, I got to get back to Rick Duel and Cheeto.
Is Cheeto okay? We never really resolved that they unthawed Cheeto.
No, they just sort of take off, and I guess we're just meant to be I guess Rick Duel figured out how to unthaw them. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know if I trust Rick Duel to...
right here, she goes, I wonder if Rick and Cheeto have missed me. So she is really functioning on the assumption that, yeah, it's all fine.
I guess, and if she comes back with a heaping load of treasure, I'm sure they'll have missed her even more.
Yeah, they do love that money.
But good for Danny, I guess.
I guess you tell me we're going to see more of her. I kind of felt like this should be the end of the character.
You'd think that, John.
I would think that. I know it's not the case, but that's weird because this feels like, okay, well, there we go. Enough with that.
Because, next issue we are promised the Iskalon effect.
Which, based on looking at the cover for next week's issue, involves the ghost of Darth Vader.
Look, anytime we see a transparent Darth Vader, you know it's a hologram of him going, brr, brr, brr.
Yes, I'm mostly hologram in this comic.
They don't
know what to do with me.
Because they don't know how I'm going to be in the next movie.
Yeah, George Lucas, don't fuck with my story.
Though at this point, we're far enough out from, I guess, I don't know what the lead time is on the writing of this comic. Do you think this particular issue or the next few issues, because we know we're on issue number 73 now. Issue number 80 is when we make the jump to beyond Return of the Jedi. At what point in that continuum has Return of the Jedi come out and they're writing new issues that will be released before?
I'm guessing almost exactly that. I think that indicates what the lead time is, right?
No, fair enough.
I would get, vaguely a couple months.
Yeah.
That would be my guess. And also, I don't think they care, right? Exactly.
But they care enough to we got to wrap up these storylines before we can move beyond Return of the Jedi.
Yes.
I guess
that is true. I want more. We had that one time that who was it? Who wrote the thing about the behind the scenes, whatever it was? I really enjoyed that. I would like more commentary, but because I am so curious about how this comic was made.
I think was that Goodwin during his
era? I think it might have been, yeah. And I was so fascinated by what he was saying, and we always have questions about what information they have, how much lead time they've been given, from the sound of it, George Lucas, talking about who didn't give a crap, but George Lucas was like, whatever. Just don't actively destroy anything I'm doing, and you're good.
But also, this was all part of the commercial rights deal that George Lucas was making money off of, though, right? The comic book sales.
Yeah. He was happy to take the money, but in terms of the thing was as long as you don't kill Chewbacca or something, we're good.
Yeah, fair. So,
I think that's a thing too. So I don't, and so that's what I mean. How much is he letting them in on what's happening in Return of the Jedi? Probably not much until he has to, right?
Or are they seeing script treatments, or are they not seeing it until it's in theaters? Who knows?
Right? Is it just do we get invited to a screening? Oh no, you'll have to pay to see it with everyone else.
I mean, we know they were given a little bit of advance notice for some of the Empire Strikes Back stuff because we had that weird design of Yoda show up.
Yes. For Empire, they were. It feels like less so for this. I mean, other than the Han Solo stuff. But you would think we'd be like seating the Emperor more if we really knew about it, right?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Though we do know around this time, we're not covering it yet in our coverage, but around this time, the Return of the Jedi comic book adaptation is actually happening.
Yes, as we've talked about, we'll be covering that when it would fit in the chronology of this story.
Yeah. Specifically, that started in October of 83, so like we're not quite there in our continuity of the comics.
Unlike the New Hope or Empire ones, it isn't actually part of the comic series itself. It's its own miniseries.
Right. So. And there's some familiar creatives will be back on that as Goodwin and Williamson are back on the ship, as it were, for Return of the Jedi.
Indeed. Okay, well, with that all that said, hey, if you want to hear more from us, you're going to want to head over to our Patreon page, which we mentioned before, is patreon.com/punchupent. That's punchupent. You get cool exclusive bonus content from all the shows on the Punch Up Entertainment Network, as well as help support us in continuing to make these. Gurgani, where else can people find us?
Over at YouTube, youtube.com/@punchupentertainment. While you're there, please like, comment, subscribe, ring that bell for notifications every time we have a new release here at the Punch Up Entertainment Network, which is basically every day of the week at this point.
Pretty much, yeah.
I do believe it is the best way of consuming this particular show because you can read the comic along with us, but it is also a great place where you can see our YouTube exclusive stuff like Punch Up Plays, where Elliot Lewis and I are making our way through the Mass Effect franchise. We're deep in Mass Effect 2 now, and it is indeed the dark middle chapter. Not that Mass Effect 3 gets any lighter, really. Oh, boy.
Oh, what a romp that is. Yeah, but Gurgani, is that going to wrap things up this week?
No, I think we got 30 more minutes of discussion here about Zeltrons and how they fit into the galactic civilization.
Got a lot of questions there.
I think that will do it for us this week because, as always, I have been Mike Gurgani.
I'm John Campbell.
And as always, may the panel be with you.